Good evening. It's Saturday, the 9th of August. You're tuned in to our 6 p.m. newscast coming to you from ARIRANG TV's news centre in Seoul. It's very good to have you with us. I'm Mark Broome. Our top story this evening, North Korea's new foreign minister has arrived in Myanmar ahead of Sunday's ASEAN Regional Forum, which is Asia's biggest annual security gathering. Su-yong became Pyongyang's top diplomat in April, and he'll be joined by his counterparts from nearly 30 countries, including South Korea, China, Japan and the United States. Now, North Korea's nuclear and missile programs, along with maritime tensions in the South China Sea, are expected to come under the spotlight during the one-day meeting. Diplomats say Lee may have informal or formal talks with the foreign ministers of China and Japan, but he's not expected to speak to his South Korean or US counterparts. North Korea has raised tensions in recent months, launching scores of ballistic missiles and rockets, much to the consternation of the UN Security Council. South Korea is seeking to drum up support at the ASEAN Forum to pressure North Korea into stopping its provocations. Now, North Korea says South Korea must shoulder the majority of the blame for the deterioration of inter-Korean relations. In a commentary on Saturday, the North Korean daily Nodong Shimbun said North Korea's plan to send a squad of cheerleaders to the upcoming Asian Games in South Korea is intended to promote goodwill between the two Koreas, but Seoul has intentionally sabotaged the move. Talks on the matter have stumbled as South Korea wants clarification from the North over who should foot the bill for this rather large group when they are in the South. The paper also accused South Korea of only showing an interest in strengthening its ties with foreign powers, particularly the United States, and rejecting North Korea's constructive proposals. Now, in domestic politics, South Korea's main opposition party is coming under fire for agreeing to a compromise version of a special bill aimed at probing into April's Seoul ferry sinking. Sources within the New Politics Alliance for Democracy told Korea's Yonhap news agency on Saturday that the families of the more than 300 victims are furious with the party's interim leadership for agreeing with the ruling Saenuri party on a bill which they say falls far short of their demands. The special bill aims to create a 17-member independent inquiry panel to identify why the Seoul sank and why the follow-up rescue operations failed so badly. The families wanted this panel to have the right to prosecute, but the compromise version of the bill failed to grant the panel those special legal powers. The families say they won't be able to trust the results of the investigation and they've vowed to continue protesting. Now, in international news, US warplanes have been launching airstrikes on Islamist militants threatening the Iraqi Kurdish city of Erbil. They have also dropped more urgently needed food and water to thousands of Iraqis under siege by those fighters. Now, this is the first military intervention by American forces since President Obama withdrew troops from Iraq at the end of 2011. Kim Hyun-bin reports.
U.S. warplanes bombed Islamist fighters marching toward Iraq's Kurdish capital after U.S. President Barack Obama said Washington must act to prevent genocide. Islamic State militants have beheaded and crucified captives in their drive to eradicate the region of unbelievers and are within an hour's drive of Erbil, the capital Kurdish region, and where U.S. oil companies are located.
The artillery position that was maintained by ISIL that was struck by the American military early this morning, East Coast time, was focused on targets that were defending Erbil. So the protection of American personnel in Iraq is a top priority and one that merits the use of military force.
The jihadists have also seized control of Iraq's biggest dam in Mosul, which, if sabotaged or destroyed, could be used to flood cities and cut off vital water and electricity supplies. The Pentagon said 2 F-A-18 fighter jets from an American supercarrier in the Persian Gulf dropped laser-guided 500-pound bombs on the fighter artillery, and other airstrikes targeted motor positions and convoys. These are the first airstrikes in Iraq since Obama evacuated all U.S. troops in 2011. The U.S. says the move was made to protect Americans and safeguard hundreds of thousands of Christians and other religious groups running for their lives. U.S. military aircraft also dropped humanitarian aid to thousands of Iraqi Christians and other ethnic minorities that are under threat in northern Iraq for the second straight night. The supplies included nearly 29,000 U.S. military rations and over 1,500 gallons of drinking water. Kim Hyun-bin, ARIRANG News.
Turning now to the latest on the Ebola outbreak in West Africa, and the death toll is creeping towards the 1,000 mark, with more cases reported in Liberia, Sierra Leone, Guinea and Nigeria over the last 24 hours. Nigeria's President Goodluck Jonathan has declared a national state of emergency over the outbreak in Africa's most populous country. Nigeria has confirmed 7 cases of Ebola in its commercial capital Lagos, 2 of whom have died. The Nigerian leader warned against spreading false information which can lead to mass hysteria and panic and misdirection. He also called on religious leaders to avoid holding large gatherings, a reference to the many mega churches that can draw tens of thousands of people. On Friday, the World Health Organization upgraded the Ebola epidemic to a public health emergency of international concern. Now, the United States has warned that any bid by Russia to deliver humanitarian aid into Ukraine would be viewed as an invasion. The US ambassador to the United Nations, Samantha Power, said Friday that Ukraine has allowed international humanitarian groups to deliver aid within its territory, so there's no logical reason why Russia should seek to deliver it. The remarks come after Russia offered this week to send a convoy of aid across the border for displaced civilians in Ukraine's east. The US official said any unilateral intervention by Russia into Ukrainian territory, including the one under the guise of providing humanitarian aid, would be completely unacceptable and deeply alarming. Earlier this week, NATO warned of a possible invasion, saying Moscow has massed thousands of troops on the border. Moscow has denied it has any plans to invade. Now, in some medical news, local researchers have developed a pacemaker that they say is self-powered. And if commercialized, it would represent a relief for those with pacemakers who are forced to undergo surgery every 5 or 10 years so that doctors can replace the battery. Our Son Jung-in reports.
An artificial cardiac pacemaker has been transplanted into a patient suffering from an irregular heartbeat. It's a life-saving procedure, but means the patient will need to have additional operations in the future to replace the device's battery.
Pacemaker recipients often need to undergo multiple surgeries over the years, and every time they do, they are at risk of infections.
But a group of local researchers may have found a solution. They've designed a pacemaker that is self-powered. It harnesses energy from the body's muscles rather than traditional batteries. The key is in the thin, flexible nanogenerator film, which converts kinetic energy into electric energy. One bend is enough to produce 8.2 volts of electrical power. The team carried out experiments on the device, connecting it directly to a rat's heart.
We were successful in getting a good amount of electrical energy by simply flexing the device and use a source to artificially stimulate the heart.
The team says this technology is sure to benefit the development of semi-permanent cardiac pacemakers in the future and could also be utilized as an electrical source for various other medical implants. Son Jung-in, ARIRANG News.
Now, staying with tech news of a certain nature, because normally plastic is made by extracting and refining petroleum. But for the first time ever, Korean researchers say they have successfully found a way to make the material out of bacteria and microalgae. Our Kim Ji-yeon reports.
This is an incubator for growing microalgae. Just a little bit of carbon dioxide and light, the algae grows instantly. Researchers then add genetically modified bacteria inside the incubator. It will disintegrate microalgae and turn it into sugar and succinic acid, the main ingredient for making plastic. The unit price of succinic acid is expensive since it's extracted from corn and trees, and the manufacturing process is complicated. But with a new method developed by the Korea Institute of Science and Technology, mass production may be possible with easily attained microalgae.
The cells of microalgae grow through factory exhausts full of carbon dioxide.
The institute says it's the first time ever in the world that successful development of technology has produced such an environment-friendly method to produce plastic. This amid global fears of climate change and a depletion of fossil fuel energy sources. Kim Jeon, ARIRANG News.
And finally, taking a look at your weekend weather. Most of the country is under partly cloudy skies this evening. It will be a warm night with the overnight low only dipping to 21 degrees Celsius here in Seoul. Sunday will be another hot day under clear sunny skies with daytime highs in the upper 20s to low 30s nationwide. So go out and enjoy it if you have the chance. Let's take a look at the weather conditions wherever you are in the world. Well, that's all we have for now. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday wherever you're watching us, and do stay tuned to ARIRANG. And I'll be back again for our next newscast coming up at 10 p.m. Korea time. Until then, goodbye.